All right, the cryo bombardiers have expired. And hopefully you remembered to clear out your landing crafts. Otherwise, you lost a bunch of gold, especially low levels. The cryo bombardiers were fantastic, but if you forget to unload them, you lose a whole bunch of gold, which is not super awesome. Speaking of not super awesome, I have not got a classified item since they were launched. This account got a building blueprint on the first dive, the one that it was down for when blueprints were added. Since then, have not got a classified item. Let me know if you've managed to get them. Today, we're going to do Hammerman. I mean, Hammerman has turned into the most interesting daily event in Boom Beach for max level players, which is a sad state of affairs. That is not what I like, and but I mean it is for max level players. You don't have to think to do Dr. T. You don't have to think to do Imitation Game. You don't have to think to do War Factory. But for Hammerman Strikes Back, you need to do a little bit of tinkering and a little bit of thinking and moving things around. So I mean, that is a strange place right now where Hammerman is. I never would have guessed that, but maybe all along you guys have enjoyed Hammerman, but for me it is the one event that I never really taken any interest in, but it gives great intel. It also gives some prototype parts, which is always appreciated. But man, just Dr. T needs a bit of a revamp. Even if it's just adding new shapes to his island or new prototypes or something. For max level players, doing the same Dr. T, the same War Factory, the same Imitation Game over and over again just isn't really cutting it. And Imitation Game, taking away the names of the bases, just takes away its flavor for me. I don't care if I'm attacking random PvP base. It just doesn't have the same thing for me. I wish they would have kept the names because that was really what made Imitation Game what it was, because you could potentially have your base show up in it and see your name, and that made it sort of special. And that with that gone, now it just doesn't have that for me. So maybe you guys enjoy Imitation Game, and I know low levels out there, Dr. T Imitation Game gives all sorts of great rewards, and for that it is perfect. But for max levels, you just kind of drop your troops and forget about them, especially once you get 16 scorchers, because it's kind of like 16 candles or something. You just burn everything to the ground. And I think I was trying to make a song reference there, but it totally and utterly failed on me. So I'm just going to keep moving on forward as we burn through the early stages. And the early stages are kind of like Dr. T for max level players. You kind of just set up a base, click a button, and watch. Once we get into stage, usually about stage 5 or 6 though, I think it's going to be stage 6 today, I believe. Let's just have a quick peek. Yeah, we're on stage 6, have done nothing so far, so maybe, just maybe, we can just cruise through all these stages, pick up the free intel, but I sort of doubt it. And the reason for that, actually, you know what, this is working out pretty well so far, getting rid of all those grenadiers to start with. The two shock launchers at shore work incredibly well, but mechs in the numbers that Dr. Hammerman drops them actually work fairly well. He just drops a lot of mechs mixed with a whole bunch of riflemen, and it can cause some problems. Doesn't usually, but we'll find out here. And I've heard from a couple people now that say that actually using lasers on Hammerman have become somewhat useful since mechs came to be, because all of a sudden you can get through those mechs, destroy all the squishy troops behind it, and we have our first loss. And that first loss was because of this boom cannon. This boom cannon drew the riflemen over, which made them walk towards an unprotected side of the core. So we are going to get rockin' and rollin', get our second Hammerman attempt on stage 6 going. And just a reminder that Hammerman does everything the exact same if you fail. So on the next attempt, he drops his artillery and his troops and his shocks all on the same buildings and things, so you can plan, you can get some troops going where you want. And you'll notice now all of the troops are going off to that left-hand side, and hopefully our minefield is enough. I kind of doubt that it's going to be enough, because there's probably a couple bombardiers or something mixed in behind. But you can see we're doing a little bit better simply by having all of the things not take that shortcut inside passage. So we're going to move this boom mine over to there. We're going to move this over here, and probably should watch a replay at this point. I don't have any prototypes down. I'm going to try to do this without prototypes. We're going to watch one replay here just to see what exactly we can get rid of for the barrages. So you'll notice he's barraging that shock launcher. Don't really want to move that, but he barraged whatever was behind that left-hand side cannon. So we are going to get rid of that. Looks like it's a sniper tower. We're now going to move this sniper tower over into no man's land, into the demilitarized zone. That's why that boom cannon was over there on the first attack, because having it barraged doesn't really matter. You'll notice all of a sudden this barrage is just barraging one building, not 6 of them, which is going to help us going forwards, because all of a sudden all of these buildings are going to be a little bit healthier. But you do need to make sure it actually goes down, otherwise you have the same problem we had in our first attack. So now all of the things just crushing Hammerman without that lost building. You'll notice also that there's a shock on that left shore. Might want to get rid of that, but overall doing fairly well. That machine gun also getting barraged. I don't think that machine gun brought a lot to the table, but also that mortar is still up, so not a big deal there. Things are going just that much better, and that's all it is incremental changes on Hammerman. You really do have to pay attention. You can just randomly move things. This is going to be a problem. See, this mortar. Okay, we only had a couple troops turn to the right-hand side, which actually could be a good thing, because our boom cannon can probably deal with those. Yes, it can. Now we're going to have a couple mechs coming in from the side, which is not ideal at all. Hopefully some of them hit some mines. Notice that mechs have quite a bit of health. Those boom cannons can't keep up, or that one boom cannon, I should say. Boom cannon and flamethrower just can't keep up because those things have so much health. I wish mechs were this useful on our own base, but that is definitely not the case. Now, we've got a couple boom mines back there that were not popped, so I'm going to move them over into here. I'll also notice that Hammerman shows up in the green field, whereas we're in the ice base. A bit of a bug there. Tiny little bug, but still a little bit on the annoying side. So I'm going to keep rocking and rolling. I have not gotten to the point yet where I am just not enjoying myself. That comes fairly quickly, though. So just seeing what we can do with Hammerman. Going to pay a little bit more attention here in a second. He is shocking that front cannon, it looks like. Not a big deal. Barrage coming in on that right-hand side machine gun, also not a big deal. Would have been nice to have that thing alive at this point, but doing fairly well. Everything is going off to that left, which is good, because we're just going to run them all through our minefield. Our minefield has been ever so slightly improved at the same time. Now, I am going to do a warships video tomorrow. I've been holding off a little bit simply because my warships have taken a turn. I'm doing something a little bit different than I have ever done in any other warship season, and I'm really sort of enjoying it. So do consider subscribing. Stick around. I will be putting that up tomorrow. Let's have one more look, see if we can get rid of some other building off to the side. So the barrage is on that left-hand side cannon as well, so I'm going to get rid of that middle left-hand side cannon. We're going to move that back to there as well. Those two barrages should take care of those buildings. I'm going to move a flamethrower up into like this sort of neighborhood, and we're going to move this machine gun back because it is going to get barraged later on. It is useful for the first little bit, but we're just going to see if that makes any sort of difference. So now that that's done, we've got our two barrages going to the back. Good stuff. All of our buildings have decent health except for this shock launcher. Definitely brought some damage towards it, but we need that shock launcher, so it's not the end of the world, the fact that it got hit. That rocket launcher, man. And the other thing is, if you don't like what Hammerman is barraging, you can just place a prototype and it resets everything he's doing. So he's barraging my rocket launcher and my shock launcher. Not a great combo, so I might just place a prototype to reset what the heck he's barraging, because otherwise things are not going to go super duper well. Our shock launcher is still up, our rocket launchers are still up, and we're getting some decent benefit out of them, but you just see there's so many riflemen on this stage that you have a really hard time getting through them. A hot pot would make all the difference in the world, likely. Now our minefield, probably not going to be quite enough to get rid of all of them. I do love watching them just all die though. Like, there is something satisfying about watching all of the troops just get absolutely melted by the mines, but then we're still going to get pummeled by Hammerman. So placing a prototype, regardless of what it is likely to make our attacks better, simply because he's not going to be barraging our shock launcher and rocket launcher and stuff like that. So let's see what's in this cycle. The cycle is I think it's a 1 week cycle. I always forget if it's 1 week or two. Nonetheless, we do have hot pots in the cycle, so that is going to be the easy mode. Getting hot pots just makes everything better. Hot pot is Hammerman's kryptonite, if that makes any sense, because he just bulk drops troops. So if you can get your hot pot in the perfect spot, I'm sure everyone knows this by now. I mean, even as an HQ18, if you place that in the right spot, you can generally get to stage 3 or 4 just using a hot pot. Our hot pot is off-center, probably not in the ideal location. But you'll notice that all of a sudden, some of our buildings have a bit more health suddenly, and the hot pot is just going to melt through a whole bunch of those rifles. Didn't do nearly as much as I would have thought, but I did not reset my cannon and my sniper towers. So as you saw in the previous attacks, those got barraged down right away, but of course we placed the prototype, which means that now we need to replace some buildings and see what the heck he's barraging. So there's still going to be 2 barrages at the start. One is going to be that left machine gun. We're going to get rid of that machine gun, this one right here, swap it back for the sniper tower. Then we're going to see what else he barrages. I think it was towards the back of the base. Let's just have a look here. So he's barraging that back boom cannon, which is not ideal because we really, really want that boom cannon to be available for getting rid of mechs, but we can do something like that. That should be a good start. So just aware that if you do place a prototype, he might barrage something you actually need, which could be detrimental to your base for sure. So doing fairly okay at this point. Got some barrages, reorganized. That cannon is going to be a problem, but I think there's going to be one more barrage. Looks like he's barraged in behind that cannon there. So if we fail this time, I'm going to move whatever's behind that cannon, and hopefully that's good enough. But so far so good. Got a whole bunch of shock launchers still available, which is going to help that hot pot burn through all of the stuff. Look at that. Simple changes, and suddenly Hammerman can't get far off the beach. So now we just have to sit around and wait. Really do wish there was a skip button on Hammerman. As much as I like it, I was going to say love. I definitely don't love this event. But it would be nice to skip just so that you can go back over your replays. Or if there was a slider, come on Boom Beach, give us a slider so that we can go backwards in the attack. Because I knew something was barrage there, but now I have to rewatch. So if I could scroll backwards like a Scrubbler, I think Scrubbler is a last.fm reference for those of you out there who remember using that site. Stage 6 down, couple changes. Let's get into stage 7, see if we can't just take this down. Gonna turn on Do Not Disturb because we've come past 9 a.m. my time. Those grenadiers, you'll notice how far forward they come. If I move my hot pot over there, we can get rid of them without any issue, but we're just gonna hold off. Maybe move our hot pot away from this flamethrower that keeps getting shocked. Maybe having that flamethrower down and having, oh, that's not good. So definitely need to move that flamethrower out of the way. Now, of course, these buildings over here are super healthy, which is going to make this attack just crush us. So probably should have moved them to the front just to start this, but we're going to lose. So it's almost not a bad thing to have them rush back there and finish off the base. So stage 7, of course, a little bit harder. Bit of a sniffle here. That is not a good sign. Let's have a look, see what we can get rid of here. So shocks on the rocket launcher, not a big deal. Shock on the cannon, not a big deal. There's got to be some barrages coming here at some point. Just waiting ever so patiently. Come on, let's go. What do you got for us, Hammerman? Where are the barrages going? So lots of shocks this time. Lots of shocks, also lots of critters. Critters make Hammerman's base Hammerman's attacks that much stronger, just like everyone's attacks, I suppose. Use critters. There's the barrage on that back boom cannon. So that back boom cannon, I mean, it's already sort of out of the way, but I'm going to put it over into here. We're also going to put an extra set of machine guns over on that left-hand side. And at this point, I mean, we should be at least started. I'm probably going to move whatever the heck those critters are going on so that we can get our hot pot working at full steam. But let's just get going. Stage 7, so the shock is on that rocket launcher, not ideal. Hot pot takes care of the critters though, and then we've got 3 machine guns taking care of some grenadiers. Notice his flags are a bit forward, so machine guns doing some work. If Hammerman was smart, he would have moved his flags backwards a little bit, but critters on that flamethrower on the right, so I am going to move that right flamethrower. I believe the shock was on the hot pot, not entirely sure. but actually, you know what? It might be actually worthwhile just keeping it there. So now the Bombardiers coming in, getting rid of our mortars, need our shock launchers to do something useful for us because that hot pot is just not getting enough love. Probably going to move the hot pot where that border is actually. Let's go into 4x mode. One prototype might not be enough for this one. Also, you'll notice I don't have ice statues. Ice statues are for people who want to push into high victory points into the 12, 13, 1400 level. I am only at like 7 or 8, so, or maybe even 6 on this account. So ice statues not going to be a benefit. And using ice statues for that 1 day a week to get it Hammerman, not my cup of tea. I don't like that idea. So we are then going to move some more of our flamethrowers forwards because I'm seeing far, far too many of the, what are those things called? Riflemen making their way into my base. Just starting to lose interest at this point. I wish there was an easy mode button, but there's not. So now our hot pot is off to the side. That should make a fairly good difference. Now that cannon right there looks like it's getting shocked, so we can probably move that to get a little bit more love out of this. But otherwise, just need our hot pot to come up right about now. There we go. Hot pot, Scorcher. Oh, Scorcher took it down way too quickly. I think our base is a little bit better this time, but there's just so many riflemen. Anytime there's this many riflemen, it is just an absolute struggle. And here's the issue. I spent a bunch of time getting this base set up, and now I'm going to add another prototype, and that's going to reset everything. So there's a certain balance of adding a prototype at the right part versus adding a prototype at the very beginning before you even start. So I'm going to move this to about there. Hot pot is amped. Rocket launchers are mostly amped. Going to move this over into here. I think it was this cannon I wanted to move back because it was getting shocked. Let's just swap that cannon and that cannon. I think that was the one. I'm also going to swap this one just because I think that should get us one of our cannons moved back as far as the one that was being shocked. We'll find out here in a second. There we go. That cannon at the back being shocked means that our machine guns are likely going to get a bit more. Probably should have a mortar over there as well as opposed to just machine guns because those grenadiers are doing a whole bunch of damage. And the fact that that Scorcher comes right at our hot pot is not ideal either. So definitely a little bit better than previous, but still not good enough, and we're going to get absolutely crushed. That Scorcher just ruined our hot pot. Hot pot versus Scorcher, not a good win on our part. So we're just getting absolutely crushed. We're going to move a couple mortars over into here. I feel like mortars versus those, what are those things called? Mortars versus Grenadiers going to do a little bit better for us. I'm also going to move a boom cannon just right there. And I'm going to move my hot pot one tile to the right of that. That might give us a little bit better action against those, that Scorcher. Scorcher is going to come right for the boom cannon, which might give us a little bit more oomph. We'll see, though. I mean, there are just so many variables going on here. So critters on that shock launcher, not a big deal. Machine guns and mortars. Mortars just pounding away at those Grenadiers as soon as they fire. There we go. So we're about to get a whole bunch of Grenadiers there. Shock launcher also getting a bunch of those, so that's good. Hot pot is shocked. Doing all right, though. You see all of a sudden the hot pot... Oh, man, that hot pot just goes down so fast. I think it's the Bombardiers that are taking the hot pot down, so maybe I need to move the hot pot into the middle and just rain some fire on this, because this was not an improvement. This actually was a step backwards. So we actually got added the what is that thing called? Damage amplifier. And it did not do anything good for us. So I'm going to move the mortars over to the left. I found that they were shooting where the Grenadiers were coming from as opposed to where they're going to. Hot pot is going to be amplified. Definitely want that. Now you'll notice that I've got a couple squares here where a couple buildings aren't amplified. I am terrible at that. I end up having buildings not amped, and it's not super duper smart. You should just pack your buildings around that damage amplifier, making sure that everything possible can be amped. Like it probably should be like somewhere in that neighborhood. That way we get all of our rockets, all of our machine guns, that mortar back there. We're also going to move this flamethrower in. Now we're looking a little bit better. Let's see if that's ever so slightly better. Incremental changes get a little bit frustrating after a while, but I'm hoping that we can now get some of these Grenadiers down. but the bombardiers are the problem. I think I've been ignoring the bombardiers too much, and I probably should have my hot pot right where that flamethrower is, just absolutely melting them. But the problem is the hot pot is getting hit by that shock, so when those bombardiers come out, the hot pot is shocked, which is not ideal at all. I think this is looking, no, I was going to say this is looking better, and then 400 more riflemen came out, which means that we're just getting pummeled. So I am going to do the unthinkable, and I'm just going to add a second hot pot. Whenever you get frustrated, add a second hot pot is usually the answer. Now, one more quick detail. This is likely obvious, but when you're adding a prototype building, do remember that the level 1 only lasts for 5 days, so you can't use it on 2 weeks of Hammerman. That's why I always use level 2. Level 3, not really all that required. We're going to go something like this. I'm going to put this hot pot over on this right-hand side to get rid of the bombardiers. I'm going to put this hot pot on this spot to get, sorry, the grenadiers. This is for grenadiers, this is for bombardiers, and then we're just going to hopefully melt everything at the shore and just be done with this. So when I said this is the most exciting... Oh, I got shocked. Of course I got shocked. I think it's actually on that cannon back there, so hopefully we can move that cannon back, get a little bit of progress out of that, but just this hot pot. Look at this, just melting all of the things. Hot pots make everything better. Pop back down, pop back down. See that? Just so much easier adding a second hot pot. Should have done that from the very beginning likely, but I just can't bring myself to do it from the start. There we go. All of the hot pots melting all of the riflemen. That's fairly satisfying as well. And stage 7 finally gone. I just wasted a little bit of your time by not placing that third prototype. Probably only needed 2. The damage amplifier likely wasn't required. I should have gone to 2 hot pots to start with, but that is all 7 stages with no ice statues. Gonna move that over there a little bit. That's supposed to be a Z right there. That looks a little bit better. So there's my Z in my statues for Zmod. Hopefully this helped you in some way, or entertained you, or wasted your time, or something in the middle. Do stick around tomorrow. I'm going to bring out some warships. Goodness, this account has been parked since day 9. There was 19. So it's been parked for almost a week at this point in the diamond tier. Never actually used shock launchers, just placed them by spending my keys towards the end. Parked, parked, parked. Anyways, as always, thank you for coming in. Do consider sticking around, checking out the supporters in the end screen. Otherwise, I shall talk to you soon. Hit me up in the comments. I'm Zedmont. Peace.